All right, well, I'd like to call this meeting to order. And roll call, we have representatives, Jason Levy, Don Eaton, Jeff Cantalito, Jason Berman. And let's do this. Great, thank you. And I understand tonight we have two new alternates.
We do.
Would you like to introduce them?
I would. We're pleased to have Kyle Testament and Kaylin Walsh join us as our two new alternates.
Lovely.
And they have a real interest in ecology and conservation and, making sure that wetlands are protected and all that. So I'm very pleased to introduce them to everyone.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. It should be
All right. Do we have any vacancies that we can fill in?
We do not. You've got a quorum.
We've got a quorum, but do we have any people who haven't come in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. I think you're regular members.
Can I borrow the packet I made you? Sorry. Let's see. Besides Jason, I know you're here, Jason. Charles. He's the only one not here, but you've got a full commission.
Okay. But we often fill for that last position if there's a regular who's not there. Tell you what, tonight we won't because this is your first meeting and we'll give you a break. Yes, all right. So, new applications to receive determinations of significance?
None at this time.
None. All right. So we'll move on to public hearing and or action on application. So application CC number 22-25 of Vicky Carrasco, owner applicant, construction of a 324 square foot deck, as well as grading in the upland review area on property of 3 Old Barge Road, assessors map H05, block 103, lot 004. So, good.
Yes.
All right.
So, commissioners, the applicants are here. I'll run through a quick overview of the application, and then if you have any additional questions, they're here to help and assist. So 3 Old Barge Road is for the proposed activities of construction of a 324 square foot deck, as well as regrading of the backyard. The proposed erosion and sedimentation control measures are silt fencing along the northern boundary of the disturbed area, which you can see where my arrow is, and its upslope of Thistle Brook. The applicant proposes to seed the newly graded area and use wood chips on the steeper slopes to stabilize the area. This is just an overview from your purview. So the proposed activity is estimated on the red oval in both is around 50 feet from Thistle Brook at its closest point. And the proposed activity is going to take place in Hickley, Loamy Sam, 15 to 45 slopes, and excessively drained soil type. At the last meeting, you had 3 questions that you asked the applicant to affirmed prior to the meeting, and the applicant was able to do so. So the questions were, what is the proposed time frame of the construction of the deck and the grading work? The deck is proposed for spring, the grading work as soon as possible. What is the proposed seed type? Try rice seeds and straw. And then what is the plan to stabilize during the fall and winter? And the intent is to use straw. Staff recommend that this application be approved, and we have provided a draft motion on the slide before you.
Okay, now I did look up the germination temperatures for the tri-rye.
Sure.
And it said 50 degrees. And it said, the optimum time is, September, October. So fall, but now into November. So I'm not sure what's coming.
Sure. So for the applicants, and please feel, the question from the chairwoman was the seeds.
The seeds and the temperature. And are you suggesting completing the work if it's approved down in the spring?
Well, probably, for stabilizing, it is a flat slope, but it doesn't seem like it's kind of, and then when you get the frozen soil and you get the snow and the surface runoff, I don't think it's going to germinate. Whether you want to go with a tackifier, soil tackifier just to hold it in place, but I don't think the seeding is going to work at this point of the year.
And I believe that's a very reasonable request. I'm Louise, by the way.
All right. So
is there an alternative to, I guess there aren't any other type of seeds that would germinate. I get what you're saying.
This time of the year. Yeah. It'd be very iffy. If we get another warm sun, it's a very quick germinating plant, but it just seems like it's just not going to take hold. So for stabilization, there is something called a soil tackifier. It would kind of glue it together. That's an alternative, otherwise waiting till spring. I think we've missed the boat for winter rye. Just because it's turning cold.
And we embarked on this journey in August.
Yeah.
So I haven't had a yard or deck since August. And obviously we want to be in compliance.
Yeah,
I'm a compliance officer, my personal
yeah,
life. So I get it. You know, we obviously want to be in compliance and, you know, do the right thing. So if you feel that, you know, we should wait because
would
of
you
that.
be-
Now, granted, you know, the weather's been, you know, chaotic. It's been
Yeah.
unusually warm,
Yeah.
right? For this time of year. So
would there be a hardship in doing it in the spring? I mean,
we didn't get to
at the
enjoy
same
it all
time, I'd say
summer.
the deck construction is going to be in the spring.
It will be in the
Would
spring.
it be difficult to do the grading and the deck construction at the same time?
And I'm just speaking based on some discussions I had in the past. The approval of the deck, I don't know if this is where the approval of the deck will happen as well, but I understand that the mitigation for the wetland, the area that we're going to work on, it's a requirement for starting the deck. So if we need to wait until the summer to work or the spring to do the mitigation, then it would put another delay on the deck. Am I correct in the sense of that? Because when we applied for the application for the deck, I know someone downstairs said that we needed to wait on the results of this
Yeah,
process.
you couldn't continue working on the deck until we went through this process.
Correct.
But I would think if we have lots of construction projects where the deck and the grading happens at the same time.
Yes,
And there would be
saying
the
separate.
sediment control. I just think we're just gonna have a muddy backyard until spring. And I don't think it's gonna germinate. So, you know, if you could do the deck and the grading at the same time, you're gonna have the sediment erosion control, but you're gonna have better germination. You're gonna have a nicer looking project, quicker.
Well, I appreciate your input. Obviously, what you're basically saying is this is a nice way to mitigate the project, and it's not going to cause any delay, right? Because what you're suggesting is that we just do it at the same time, as opposed to any delay, without any adverse impact to the environment, of course.
And we can still approve it
Yeah,
tonight
yeah,
for.
We can prove it, but I think they'll have a better result if
Yes.
you just do it in the spring.
And I think that's very kind of you, and I appreciate it. No one wants to walk in muddy place. I just wanted to make sure that they can both be approved, and we'll be more than happy to oblige.
Any commissioners have anything to add? All right, would someone like to make a motion? I don't have a motion.
Motion that we approve application CC 2225, Vicky Carrasco, owner applicant, construction of a 324 square foot deck, as well as grading and upland review area on property of 3 Old Barge Road. Draft motion and conditions in the associated staff report dated November 15th, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? All right, good. And thank you very much for your flexibility.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be happy with the result in the spring.
Okay, I just want to say thank you to Ms. Biala. She was fantastic. So I want you to know.
Thank you.
Happy to have you.
Very thorough.
Excellent.
And kudos to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're moving on to application CC 22-26 of John and Tammy Godby, owners Norman Piazza, applicant, construction of a 916 square foot addition to the wetlands on property 5 Knollwood Circle, assessors map H03, block 403, lot 003-2L.
Commissioners, again, the applicant and the applicant's representative or owner and applicant are here. So I'll run through an overview, and then if you have any questions, they're here to answer further. So the proposed activity, as stated, is for a 916 square foot addition The proposed erosion and sedimentation control measures are to install silt fencing along the northeastern boundary of the disturbed area. And the silt or the temporary materials pile is also upslope. So anything, if it were to be disturbed, would go to the silt fence. To provide background on the site, as we discussed last time, this is an old subdivision. We have it as an inland wetland soils, but the functionality of this particular area, as referenced in your motion, it's probably not functional anymore. But to go over what we have, it is occurring within inland wetland soils, and then we believe that it's a poorly drained soil type. Some of the work will be, which is an inland wetland soil type, and then in the Hickley loamy sand, 3 to 15% slopes, which is an excessively drained soil type. So staff's recommendation is to approve this application with the draft motion and conditions in the associated staff report dated November 15th.
We did make in the motion, we pointed out that this was done prior to the development of the inland wetland regulations.
Yep.
So,
Mhm.
is there any further discussion? And, I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that the Conservation Commission approves application CC 22-26 of John and Tammy Godby owners and Norman Piastka applicant for the construction of a 916 square foot addition in the wetlands on the property of 5 Knollwood Circle, found on the assessor's map H03 block 403 lot 003-2L. It's a zone R25 and based on the draft motion and conditions in the associated staff report dated November 15th, 2022.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, good. Thank you and good luck with your.
Thank you.
I'll be in contact.
Okay, great. I also gotta say she's been great.
Oh, yeah, she is. She's terrific. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, general commission business minutes from November 1st. I don't see anything there. Any changes that you'd like to make? Did anyone have a chance to look at them?
I didn't look yet.
Staff looked in, we worked with the clerk. We fixed a few things to really get at the hone in on some of our motions. So we're also looking for you.
Check mark.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I do for work. That's fine to me.
All right,
It's okay,
without
me too.
objections, we'll file them. Urgent actions?
Not at this time.
Okay, we're moving right through. Conservation business. Now, in your email, you said we have to do an amendment to, you wanted to talk about the PLCD?
I think that'd be the proper path, Madam Chair, is to fully get it on the agenda, especially if you want to continue to talk about it. It can be added as a.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it too much, but all right,
Sure.
I entertain a motion to add discussion of the PLCD to the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So I had a lovely weekend, a couple of weekends ago, going through the POCD, which is the Plan of Conservation Development, and looking for updates that we could make. I only got them to you yesterday, but I saw that there was a lot that we could add to the POCD. They don't really mention the Conservation Commission, which is interesting for conservation and development but there were lots of things I thought we could add. I was interested that we had at the last meeting, we had talked about the Dark Sky Initiative. And interestingly enough, in the POCD, they said that there was a Dark Sky Initiative called out specifically, and it did say that the town needs regulations for that. And we tasked the zoning commission with that. So I think it would be good for this commission to encourage zoning to develop those. And maybe we can make some suggestions. I'm really looking to see what other towns, if you can all look to see what other towns might have already promulgated some regulations for dark sky. We'll work on that, see if we can't forward that to the zoning. But I encourage you all, it's a lovely document. But you know, it needs a good overhaul. Even some of the pictures could use an update. But I don't know, do we have copies of this? If anyone wanted a hard copy, or is this,
I don't.
I just have a lovely, wonderful copy.
Yeah, I
If
can't
anyone
give.
wants to borrow it.
It is online.
It is online under the
Yeah, it
planning.
is online, but-
Yes. Well, I know.
It's
I'm gonna
hard.
go through some
But
paper.
if anyone wants to borrow my very marked up copy, they can. But there are a lot of things that, you know, in the past, we've concentrated on just getting a few things in, but I think it's time that we just do a complete. Not a lot of ecological thought went into this. It was mostly how humans are using the land. It's not, nobody else apparently lives, nothing else lives in Simsbury other than humans. We need, I think, a more ecological approach. So if you want to take a look and see, well, I've sent my bits in, but if you want to add to them, great. Or if you think I've gone over the edge on some of my comments, we'll have that discussion at the next meeting.
Right. So just so I understand, as I look at this, anything in red were your additions.
Yes.
And then some of it's like when you say page 23, protected natural resources, that's the actual heading.
Yes.
And then you're, okay,
It's in black,
Just
it's what it was.
what it was. Okay.
And then
Right.
my changes were in red.
Okay. Thank you.
And then if it was in bold or italics, I think that was like comment.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I see, like the thing,
Not
yeah.
in red, but
Right.
yeah, so,
Okay.
Yeah, it was the easy working off the one online. You can always.
Right.
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 Yes.
Mhm.
But I think it's an important thing that we get out. I did notice that the design review board is mentioned, but we're not. So, you know, I think it's important for us to a
Mhm.
little bit more say in this one.
Yeah.
Has anyone had a chance to look at it? No,
I haven't.
it takes some time.
Yeah. I mean, I had started to go through, I certainly, you know, I read some of it a lot and then scanned some of it. And I think there's some very good suggestions in here. And I think it's a good starting point if we want to do more.
So hopefully we don't have anything on our next, we don't have any new applications. So maybe we
So maybe we
can
can
pick it
just
up at the next
concentrate on
meeting.
this.
So if everyone gets a chance to look it over.
Mhm.
Thanksgiving. I'm sure you have nothing else to do. And hopefully, you know, beginning of December, we can look at it and we can break it up over the next couple of meetings. And then,
Mhm.
what is the time frame, Joe?
It's just within the year. I know we've hired Glenn Chalder as the consultant. He'll get things moving along pretty good. He was the one who originally worked on this original one. So it's good he's back because he has the historical context, but I think it's within the year.
Yes, so it's my understanding, and I could be wrong, and George can correct me in future opportunities, but it is, I just will note that it is only an update, so the scope
Right.
is smaller than anticipated. So when there are group and stakeholder meetings with the Conservation Commission, I think the best position you'll be in is if you have your set
Right.
list of comments.
Yes.
It'll put you in a better position to be able to
To do it
actually,
early. Yeah, not when the thing is almost finished.
Right.
yeah,
Yes.
I just can't, I don't know what's in the contract or what his full scope is, but this is the time to say, hey, these are the things we're
Right.
interested
I
in.
know there are certain priorities that we're looking at that It certainly predates my getting on planning because they'd sort of started the process, but I know there's a couple of big things that they're very interested in, and this isn't necessarily part of that. So I think it's important that we as the Conservation Commission go in with, as Savannah said, a document that's well put together with our thoughts on it and have them look at that. I think obviously the easier we make it for them to incorporate what's important to us, the easier it is to get it in there.
I think so.
So
And
I
I know
agree.
in other times, other reviews that I've been involved with, we're always going to, at the very end,
Mhm.
and then we're adding, and that's when it's hard. to
Right,
do.
right.
So I think if we concentrate on this for the next meeting,
Mhm.
we might actually see some of our comments and make it into the piece.
Yep, yep.
All right. And I think I was looking at the resources online, the commission.
They have not been updated
Oh,
yet.
good.
Yeah.
I was sure that we had said something.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Joe was at a land use training, so hopefully he passed, but that's why it's taken us a little.
All
Yeah.
right.
Joe Hollis.
Yes.
Not
No,
this
no.
guy.
No,
You could have been there.
I could have been there.
Yeah.
But
And if we can do some of the POCD next time, I don't know if it's a working group, but the open space meets the day after, the first Tuesday, that maybe meet the first Wednesday. I think it's the whole group, so they're not probably going to bring up the POCD, but the following January meeting will be about, we're going to start discussing the POCD at the open space. So if we can push from two directions to get it in, that would be even better.
yeah, they could get like a mowing policy or something like that.
Yeah, that was
So
another,
then those things are in there, and yeah, that'd be great.
that was another thing at the open space, and Joe and we met with several of the town staff with the pollinated pathways group.
Mhm.
And one of the things the town has done some leaving of grass at this point. They're not really meadows, they're just unmowed grass areas on Simsbury farms and various town properties. And the one of the things we're trying to get the town staff to do is not to mow as frequently, to establish some sort of a meadow, whether it's a grassland meadow or a pollinator type meadow. And that will be dependent on the mowing schedule. But in order to get the town staff to do it, the town needs to have a meadow policy, meadow mowing policy. So it's something we're going to bring up at the open space, but it's something we should also discuss
Mhm.
next time at the conservation. Because if you mow after the bird's nest in August, then you're going to establish a grassy field. If you mow in the spring, then you'll get more of the forbs, the meadow grasses. So you have to sort of establish which field do you want as a grassland, what's the configuration for it, and maybe you guys can help out with this. Which is the right configuration and size for grassland nesting birds, and which the smaller ones can be for the meadows. The insect side is quite as particular as the birds. So the fields have to be identified. Maybe that's something we can help with as well. So once the fields are established, then we can establish a mowing policy for those going forward. And actually, NRCS actually has, I don't know if they do it for municipalities, but they're trying to encourage people to mow their fields less frequently, and actually will give money to people to mow less frequently, which sounds good because it's a cost saving thing. You don't have to mow, you get money. So, but again, I don't know if that's for municipalities. Maybe Savannah can look into that. Could be a town saver, money saver. So those are a couple of things I think in the conservation. We can look at that, and we've got the and then as well as the dark sky initiative. And I think that will keep us busy if we don't have any applications for those.
Mhm.
All right. Does anyone else have anything that they want to add to that? That's enough. All right. All right. So planning and community development updates. This is nothing. All right. That moves us down to item 9. And without objection, I will adjourn. And have a lovely Thanksgiving.